Missing concrete at the Verve building in Newcastle. Let's have a look. Good evening everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I'm here with my stein of coffee and I thought before I turn in for the night we'd have a look at this article. It's about the Verve building in Newcastle and I discussed it before. I did a video last month where flooding due to pressure testing means that several floors of the building needed to be completed or repaired and they couldn't be occupied even though people had bought the units. Now I wasn't too worried about that then because these type of things do happen and it's better that the fault was discovered while frankly the builder was still on site. Be easier to get it rectified, easier to ensure that it's their problem and they know about it. But since I made that video, more news has come out. A fantastic video done by Edwin Almeida where he goes into detail. He actually had a anonymous source take him through the town, give him a tour, and open up about some of the issues on the site. And I'll link to that below as well, and you can see it in the video. I would highly recommend you check that out to learn more about what's happening with this building, because that adds weight to everything that we're about to see here. And it's just as concerning as everything else. So problems at Newcastle high-rise come at an uncomfortable time, so they're more concerned at just the time where it's happening. The Verve apartment complex in King Street was designed to be one of the crowning glories of the city's urban revitalization, a pair of landmark 19-story towers with the title of Newcastle's tallest building. And while I remember, this piece is written by Ian Kirkwood and it's from the Newcastle Herald. Unfortunately, however, the Verve towers have been making plenty of headlines in recent days, but for all the wrong reasons. First off, a leaking hot water main that ran unchecked for at least 10 hours from the 9th floor of one tower caused varying degrees of damage to dozens of apartments. As if that was not enough, apparently routine X-ray checking has revealed air pockets or voids in some of the project's concrete panels. So let's have a look. Here are some images. And we'll see here. I mean, there you go. You don't need to be in the game to realize that isn't good. That's pretty bad. You know? That there's some issues there. I mean, have they chiseled away at that to do some repair work and to recast it in and cut it out? It looks a bit too perfect, doesn't it? It looks a bit too perfect. I'm assuming it's more little pieces like this and they need to cut it in. Or if it is that bad, that's shocking. I mean, look here. So, if this was a fire-rated wall, I'm not sure where this is on the plan. If just, regardless of, the structural integrity of it, a fire-rated wall, that's going to have issues maintaining its structural capability. It won't meet the FRL requirements with all these bloody air pockets in it. It won't meet the sound resistance requirements. It might actually improve the impact resistance because you're impacting against nothing, maybe. That's why it's a feature, guys. So there's some more images here of the damage that resulted from the flooding in the building. But, I mean, this is a big deal. So jumping back to the article. A burst water pipe is one thing, but the discovery of at least 2 significant structural defects and an undisclosed number of minor ones appears to be something altogether more serious. Yes, and the author is 100% right there. A water pipe bursting on a job when you're doing a pressure test or, that was unidentified for 10 hours, okay, it happens. You deal with that. You resolve it. But structural issues in the building, that's, we're not talking minor cracking here. We're not talking allowable Australian standard cracking in concrete surfaces. We're not talking, they didn't allow enough, they didn't vibrate it enough when they were putting it in. There's some reassurance in the developers saying they replaced everything water damaged rather than trying to dry it out. There is reassurance too in the structural engineers saying they tested every concrete wall once the initial defects were discovered. Okay, so, I mean, that's good. Well, that's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. If you discover this defect, a defect like that, you have to. The engineer has to go through and check all of that. You can't just brush it off. That's not something special. Okay, discovering huge stuff-ups on a project means you have to go through and check everything. Okay, you have to hire an X-ray machine for what, 10 grand, 20 grand to be there for a couple of days. So I wouldn't praise him for that. That's base level competence. Problems such as these are the last thing a buyer wants to hear at any time, but the fallout may well be greater than it might have been given the focus on the industry in the wake of these Sydney apartment evacuations. Well, yes, yeah. I mean, particularly with the revelations that Edwin did in his video, and I'll bring that up again just to show the link. The revelations that he brought out in his are even more shocking. And I mean, I think he only got a couple 900 views on that thing. The buyers should be watching it. The general response has been to blame a lack of inspection scrutiny made easier by the introduction of private certifiers in competition with the traditional local government compliance system. That's one argument. I'm firmly of the position that the methodology for procurement has got more to do with it. Maybe getting a clerk of works on site again. You know, how was this building procured? I'd have to find out. Does anyone know? We'll jump to it here. You know, over here. Does anyone know if it was a design and construct project? I'll have to find out. Oh, if you've got the drawings, guys, please send them my way. Let me have a look. Critics say there is a potential conflict of interest at the heart of private certification, given the certifier is being paid by the owner of the development. But problems have also been found in council-certified jobs. The real issue would seem to be the need for greater accountability right through a building. Increasingly, certifiers only check the certificates issued by others. Well, yes, that's true. He understands that process. So I would say it's the methodology of procuring these buildings. And he's saying the greater accountability right throughout the building. If you remove the either the architect supervising the work, you remove the private certifier checking it properly, not working for the developer or the builder, that's an issue. Because these things are going to come and haunt the developer too. Despite the pressure on the industry at present, calls for reform of the construction process are nothing new. According to one estimate, New South Wales alone has had 18 reports on the subject in the past 2 decades, meaning the problems, and presumably their causes, are well known. No building system will ever be perfect, but the longer the question marks continue over the high-rise sector, the greater the fall in public confidence will be. I'm not sure. I think the Babylonian approach to dealing with this issue was perfect. You know, if what was it? One of the rules: if you get a builder to build a wall or wall of a house and it falls and kills your son, the son of the builder dies. That's old school Babylonian justice. Not fair by our contemporary perspective, but I mean, damn. So guys, we'll have a look at these issues again. I mean, it's very concerning. It really is. If you built over it, I want to know would they have discovered this? Would they have discovered this if it wasn't for the flooding? If it wasn't for the flooding, would they have discovered it? You know, if there was no flooding, would they have discovered these major defects, these structural issues? And what could they have led to? I'm seeing this, I'm more concerned with just what other issues there are throughout the building as well. And, I mean, where's this wall? That's there. Could just be an internal column. Could just, may not be. But if it has fire issues, I mean, if these are between 2 different apartments, what if there's a fire? What if it went through to the other? Would it killed other people? Even a small opening can allow for that. Every penetration you put through a wall between sole occupancy units in these type of buildings needs to have a collar around it so that if there's a heat, it will crunch the pipe to stop the fire getting through. Because people die in these situations. That's why we have these legislations in place. That's why we have these processes in place. It's to keep people alive. So guys, let me know what you think. Will you be rushing out to buy one of these apartments? What would your solution be to all of this? It's just starting to become something that I'm encountering again and again and again. It's getting concerning. It really is, but we're going to see more of it, guys. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.